I'm Victoria.
And I'm Ava. Victoria, have you ever worked with someone on a project but you weren't physically together, so it was kind of hard to understand each other?
Actually, I have. There's this one time where my friend and I were working on a science project, but we had to split it into 2 parts and work on separately because she'd be away the day we'd be working on it in class. So when we finally got back together, it was pretty hard to put my information and my friend's information together and make it one whole.
That would be kind of difficult because you aren't together, right? The thing is with God is that even though we can't see him, he is always with us. So God can partner with us anywhere. Let's check out what that meant for Joseph.
Why did Adele cross the road? To say hello from the other side. Hey everyone, it's Alyssa. Welcome to today's God story. So when I was in elementary school, I had a friend that had to move to a different city and she had to start at a new school. And she told me that at first she felt really lonely and didn't have a lot of friends. But because of that, she started to notice other kids who didn't have a ton of friends were sitting alone all the time. And she started to make friends with them and bring them in. And eventually all of them started to feel like they had a community. This reminds me of today's big idea. God can partner with us anywhere. In this series, we've been hearing the story of Joseph. From being his father's favorite son, to being sold into slavery by his brothers, to being thrown in jail for something he didn't even do. In Joseph's story, we can see that God is at work even when things are tough. Even when Joseph was in prison, the guards saw that he was such a good guy and gave him responsibilities, put him in charge of other prisoners. Joseph's story didn't end with him in prison. Here's what happened next. 2 men who had worked for Pharaoh were thrown into prison. They were the king's baker and the king's wine taster. Joseph was put in charge of them. They were in prison for a little while. Then let's read what happens next in Genesis 40, starting in verse 5. Then each of the 2 men had a dream. The men were the Egyptian king's baker and wine taster. They were being held in prison. Both of them had dreams the same night. Each of their dreams had its own meaning. Joseph came to them the next morning. He saw that they were sad. They were Pharaoh's officials, and they were in prison with Joseph in his master's house. So he asked them, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered, "but no one can tell us what they mean." Then Joseph said to them, "Only God knows what dreams mean. Tell me your dreams." So the 2 men told Joseph about their dreams, and Joseph listened to God, and God told him what their dreams meant. Joseph partnered with God in this. Then Joseph told both the men what their dreams meant. To the wine taster, he said that he would get his job back in 3 days, while the baker would be killed or executed in 3 days. Sure enough, 3 days later, it was the Pharaoh's birthday, and he called both the wine taster and the baker out of jail, and the wine taster got his job back, and the baker was killed. Now, before they were released, Joseph said to the wine taster, "When you get your job back, please remember me. Please help me by talking to the Pharaoh for me and helping me get out of prison." But the wine taster forgot to tell Pharaoh about Joseph. Fast forward 2 years later, Joseph is in prison this whole time, and Pharaoh has a dream. The dream goes like this. 7 fat, healthy cows come out of the river. Then 7 unhealthy, scrawny, ugly cows come out of the river. And they eat up and swallow the 7 healthy cows. It's a really weird dream. Pharaoh woke up from the one dream and fell back asleep and had another dream. In this dream, there were 7 heads of grain growing on one stem, and they were healthy and good. Then 7 other heads of grain sprouted up, but they were thin and dried. And the thin ones swallowed up the healthy ones. So Pharaoh woke up from this second dream, and just like any of the rest of us, was like, what a weird dream. And so he sent for some of his wisest men to see if any of them could tell him what the dream meant. But no one could. This is when the wine taster finally remembered Joseph. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph. Joseph came, and the Pharaoh said, "I've had this dream, and no one can explain it to me, but I hear that you can explain dreams." Joseph said, "I can't do it, but God will give me the answer." He knew that he could partner with God. So Pharaoh told Joseph about both dreams, and Joseph told him that they both had the same meaning. The 7 healthy cows and the 7 healthy heads of grain represented 7 years where there would be abundance, plenty of food in Egypt for everyone to eat. And then they would be followed by 7 years of famine where there wouldn't be enough food for people to eat. Those were the unhealthy cows and the unhealthy heads of grain. Then Joseph told Pharaoh that he should find someone that was really really wise to be able to store up food during the 7 good years so that there would be enough food during the 7 bad years. Pharaoh thought this was a great plan and said, "The Spirit of God is on this man, Joseph." So he said to Joseph that he would put him in charge of this, that he would be basically second in command in all of Egypt. Only Pharaoh would have more power. So Joseph stored food just like he said, and after that, everything happened like God had shown through Pharaoh's dreams. There were 7 years of abundance and plenty of food, and then 7 years of famine and not enough. And because Joseph had stored up that food, there was enough for everyone to eat during the bad years. In fact, people from all over traveled to Egypt to buy some of the food that Joseph had stored. See, even when Joseph was in prison, God was partnering with him there. And look where God took Joseph. He took him to a place where he could save all those people from starvation. That's today's big idea. God can partner with us anywhere. So if, like Joseph, you feel like you're not in a great place right now, know that God can still partner with you in amazing ways. It has been a lot of fun hanging out with you guys today, and I will catch you next time.
Hey friends, turn to the person next to you
and answer the following questions before the time runs out.
Question time. Does it ever feel like things have to get better before God could show up? What does today's story tell you about his ability to partner with us?
It's so unfair how Joseph was thrown in prison even though he did nothing wrong. But it's amazing to see how God could partner with him, even there.
Yeah, nothing is impossible for God. And while we're looking at Joseph and how God partnered with him, let's check in with Hannah and Miah to see how God partnered with them when things weren't going so well at school.
Hi, I'm Jacob, and I'm here to meet Hannah and Miah, 2 students who saw a need in their school and decided to start a space where their peers could share their faith and talk about their feelings without being judged. Let's go find out more about that.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Jacob.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Miah.
Nice to meet you. So tell me about this program you guys started at your school. What motivated you to do that?
Alpha is a video-based course with a discussion, and it's open to all cultures, religions, non-religion, and yeah, and I felt really encouraged to do it at our school.
I was a little more hesitant to start it, but we definitely saw this need at our school. There was a lot of conflict, a lot of hate, and just violence, and so we wanted to break that tension and just create a space where people could feel like they were accepted and loved for the things that we were discussing, like our faith and our beliefs and all that stuff.
How did you guys get that started, though?
So I got my teacher involved with it, and she gave us the room, and then I got a bunch of my friends to be the leaders, and they were totally on board. And then we also got support from pastors in the GTA.
Yeah, just raising money for our Alpha, helping us out with pizza so that people could come and eat and talk and all that stuff. It was cool.
So tell me, what did the average meeting look like for you?
An average meeting was the door was open to anyone to come in, they would sit down or they'd grab their pizza, the video would play, and then we would discuss the questions that were being asked throughout the video.
Did you see an impact from all of this?
Yeah, for sure. We were getting to know people in the halls. We would invite people to come, and there was this one girl in particular who throughout the week she would eat her lunch by herself, but every Tuesday she would come with a smile on her face because she knew that when she came, she was able to eat her lunch with people who loved and accepted her and wanted to start a friendship with her.
Yeah, and I even had a good friend that came to know Christ, and it was just such an amazing and cool experience.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Did you feel that God partnered with you through this?
Definitely. The janitor would come and clean up the 8 pizza boxes that were put in the recycling bin every Tuesday after lunch, and he would talk to our teacher and just be like, where are these coming from? And she explained about the course and what we were doing, and he was just like, that's really, really cool, and then he ended up asking for a Bible. So just being able to see how God worked through that and the ripple effect that Alpha had on so many people was just really, really incredible to see.
Yeah.
What would you say to other students out there who see a similar need in their school?
to not be afraid to step out into their school and make a difference. And yeah, like you can do it with anything. Just smiling at someone in the hall and just showing God's love to that person really makes a difference.
Yeah, just be courageous, because like God's got a plan for you. Like, he's not gonna let you hanging or anything. Like, he knows what he's doing with you, and yeah,
he'll work through you. So it's, yeah, I would encourage anybody to just, see the need and do it. Take action. Yeah.
So what do you guys feel like you accomplished with this group?
We really gave kids a voice and someone to talk to. So we loved them and cared for them. So they really had that sense of just love and care.
Yeah, and even for the kids who didn't want to necessarily start a relationship with God, we let them know that we want to have a relationship with them. And so we hope and pray that throughout their life, they'll realize that and it'll help them come to Christ.
Thank you guys so much for coming out and talking.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Wish you all the best.
You too.
Question time. Where would you like to invite God to partner with you in your life today? Who do you think you can invite to participate in something you want to do for God? And how would you involve them?
I loved what Hannah and Miah did.
Yeah, great idea to get the pizza. And also that they were ready to invite everyone and create a platform for discussion.
What I enjoyed most was to see how amazingly God could partner with them and how that changed attitudes in school. Let's break into our small groups to see what this looks like in our lives.